So we are live and recording. Hello everyone and welcome to the 12th episode of e-commerce growth show. Today it's a special day for me because it's my birthday, and I also have our first guest from Australia, Wayne Richard. Hello Wayne.
Hello. Actually, I'm located in Tucson, Arizona. So it may be your first guest in Tucson, Arizona, but I'm here representing Bean Ninjas, where we are headquartered in Australia.
Oh, I got it. So my bad. So let me tell our audience, Wayne, a bit about yourself. So Wayne is a management accountant who forged on a 15-year career with a tech heavyweight HP before starting his own cloud accounting firm in Tucson, Arizona. 2 years after discovering Bean Ninjas via a blog post, his involvement had grown from a blog comment to an equity partner. So, that's how life goes. So Wayne, thanks a lot for being part of the show. The main topics for today, so that it's really clear: recession and COVID-19 revenue trends, cloud-based accounting software, and cash flow forecasting for e-commerce players. So Wayne, the stage is yours. Hello again, and thanks for being part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful to be here on your birthday. Happy birthday to you, and thanks for having me. Yeah. So we did an interesting thing. So naturally, as accountants, we have certain questions that come up around data and numbers, and we had formed a bit of a hypothesis, and that was that e-commerce businesses with accounting processes and financial systems in place, like tools like cash flow forecasting, are simply better off when going through a recession than those businesses that don't have these things. So inspired by some of our friends like the Dynamite Circle, e-commerce Fuel, Empire Flippers, who have created amazing industry reports, we thought to reach out to a number of our partners like yourself, like Xero, A2X, Omniconvert. We brought in Empire Flippers, just experts in all areas around e-commerce, financials, marketing, tools, and systems, and surveyed e-commerce sellers. So we had an amazing response. We actually had responses from 6 of 7 continents. So we also had responses from multiple countries, and over 100 e-commerce operators responded. What was interesting for us to hear was over 77% of them were in business over 3 years. And then beyond that, we found that 42% of them actually were selling primarily on Shopify. We had thought we'd seen a larger representation across Amazon FBA, but it seems like the tide may be shifting a little bit for sellers relying almost exclusively on Amazon. And then when we were looking at the different verticals that we were seeing responses, they were quite varied. So we didn't really have one that primarily won over any other. But at 17%, the winner was fashion and apparel. And as I mentioned, we had a number of countries, but I would say 2/3 of those responses naturally came out of the US and Australia, based on where we do the bulk of our business.
Excellent. So Wayne, the first question for you. It's been quite an adventure to get from commenting to a blog to actually becoming an equity partner in Bean Ninjas. Tell us more about how that happened.
Yeah, so I think one thing that most entrepreneurs do when they're starting out is they try to do everything. They think they have a limited budget, so what if I just spent the time doing that thing? And for me, I built a local, regional accounting firm, delivering services to customers, but being the guy that sent the invoices, met with the customers, did the monthly bank reconciliations, did the marketing, did every aspect of the business. And I started to look to others that were in the industry doing similar things, but in positions better than how I was doing them. So I came across a podcast and heard Meryl Johnston of Bean Ninjas, my now business partner, speaking. And when she spoke in a way that was really transparent and she shared openly her ideas and the things that they were trying around marketing and hiring staff and where their monthly recurring revenue numbers were. So I thought to reach out. There weren't many other operators working in this, I would say, future style of accounting, where we're leveraging cloud-based tools. We're meeting with our customers in a way similar to this, utilizing video chat rather than driving to their office and grabbing a stack of folders and receipts. So I reached out to Meryl and commented on her blog post, and then followed that up with a request just to get together for about a 15-minute chat to talk about marketing. And that 15-minute chat turned into a 2-hour conversation. Well, we really just found that we were aligned in our mission, vision, and values with where we saw the industry and where we saw the ability of accountants like ourselves being in positions to better support their customers. And over time, that relationship developed into me taking a role within Bean Ninjas, 2 weeks later being a supervisor over a number of staff members. And then the conversations almost from the start were, how do we make it so that you can spend all of your time helping us grow Bean Ninjas together rather than us separately trying to build things apart? And our strengths really align well. I'm more of an outspoken salesman type, a big thinker, strategy guy. And Meryl really has an amazing knack for breaking it down into, okay, what does that project plan look like? And what deadline are we going to put to that? And how are we going to hold the team accountable for delivering against these commitments we're making? So the balance of our skill sets together has allowed for us to build something much larger than what I ever had envisioned building on my own.
That's excellent. So when you are now working with a lot of e-commerce companies and you've made this research on them, what was intriguing from what you found over there?
Yeah, so I shared our original hypothesis that we just truly believe that having these cloud-based systems will put you in a position to better support your business through those down times. And it's like Christmas. A downtime is going to occur to every business, and you need to be prepared. So having tools like cloud-based accounting software like Xero, where you can produce real-time financial reporting, having supplemental tools like a Cashflow forecast that move you beyond what most people do, and that's the tax compliant traditional bookkeeping effort, but move you into more of what big companies do, like HP, that's financial reporting and analysis. So now you're saying, I'm not going to run my business looking in the rear view mirror. I'm going to look through the windshield into the future, and I'm going to try to predict where I want to go. So like when you plan a big trip, you look at the map or you look at your GPS and you understand the route that you're to take to get there. Well, you know what? You might take a wrong turn. Does it mean you never get there in the end? No. So you're able to restructure, but based on those mile markers, you're able to look at your forecast and say, did the decisions and the insights that I've gained through working in my business meet the forecast that I had built? Maybe, maybe not. But you have a chance then to recalibrate and to begin to understand with certainty what decisions you can make going forward, and then potentially what decisions you may look to avoid because of those drops in your expected cash flow.
Yeah. So in terms of the cash flow management for e-commerce owners, as a former e-commerce entrepreneur, I've seen this happening to us as well. We've also, let's say, overlooked the importance, and we haven't been, let's say, so obsessed about doing this properly. So usually we were just looking, okay, how much money do we have in the bank? We were using all these Excel files, which were never updated. And then when the shit hit the fan, we were there obsessed about making the numbers click. So what is your suggestion, and from where onwards, so how big the company should be so that it takes care about the cash flow properly?
Yeah, I think every business, having been an entrepreneur myself and having been through that startup phase, it's more important when you're first starting out because every dollar means more. So you need to tell those dollars where they need to go and where they should be spent within your business. And the best way to do that is to begin to lay out a plan that says, I understand what I have available. So you lay out your beginning cash balance. You look at all the cash inflows, all the sales channels, the wholesale accounts that you might have that are drawing business in to your operation. And then you list out all of those cash outflows, those expenses your business will incur during a particular period. So we suggest for most folks, a good view is about 13 weeks into the future. So it's about the same as a quarter. I think when we look to forecast out beyond that, like COVID, no one could have expected this. If you said, did your cash flow forecast look like back in January? I can almost with 100% certainty assure that it looks nothing like it does today. So we recommend all businesses, and then particularly for e-commerce, because as you know, the most critical piece of spend that you have is on inventory. And typically inventory spend occurs before you have an opportunity to sell it. So for most e-commerce operators, we recommend you are managing your books on an accrual basis. So it's an accounting term, but what that simply means is rather than recognizing that expense in your accounts when the cash leaves your bank, you are going to tie the recognition of that spend to the sales and the timing of those sales that occur within your business. So because we are looking to shift and move when we're recognizing those expenses within our financial reports, it's then more critical than ever to have a cash flow forecast in line with your financial reports to actually show you not just what everyone can open a bank statement and see the number that's available, but most businesses have already made commitments against some of that money. So if you're on 30-70 terms with a supplier, 50-50 terms, even though a balance may be sitting in your account, you might have already committed a big chunk of that cash to be spent on an executed PO or a contractor agreement or future salary to full-time team members that you have on board. So it's not enough to just simply look at your bank balance and make decisions. You need to use these analytical tools like a cash flow forecast to just map out everything that's coming in and going out to have certainty and confidence in what you really have available to make decisions on and spend.
Yeah, and I think when here to add something, the business is so dynamic that you can't forecast everything, but the more you forecast, the better it is for you, because you will be put into a position where you have enough clarity so that you can adjust to these kind of conditions and these kind of events like COVID. But if you don't know where you are going, or let's say if you always postpone the moment when you're gonna actually take care about the cash flow aspect, you're gonna miss out on having, let's say, also the clarity, but also the relief, because as an entrepreneur and as a manager, you have this burden on your shoulders because you need to take care about the business itself and the employees and so on. So that's another. I found this once we adjusted this. That was back in 2008, I think, when I made this exercise completely with the software that made us give us more clarity. That was the best outcome. I mean, not only on the business side of things, but also on the psychological side of things, because at least I know what's going to happen if there's no COVID or a global pandemic happening.
Yeah, what we also recommend too is once you have a baseline, then you have an opportunity to create unique scenarios from that baseline. So after you've gone through the exercise and have done a cash flow forecast on everything I think I know right now, then let's look at what's the worst case scenario. What if that one wholesaler misses that payment? What if your sales drop 10%? But then we can also play out the other scenario. What's the best case scenario? We've seen many e-commerce sellers have months. Now we've had continued stretch of weeks where they've had daily sales in line with Black Friday, unprecedented. They just had products very unique to the time and in demand because naturally people are at home. But how could they have ever predicted that? They probably couldn't. So now we're in a position where they're trying to make decisions on, what if this continues? I need to make inventory restock decisions today based on what I think sales might be in 2 months or next month, depending on their lead times. Yeah. So we try to look at those various scenarios and say, well, in the best case scenario, what if sales stay the same? They stay on trend with the month over month growth that we've seen over these last 2 months. And this is what it looks like in terms of your restocking needs. And then what's an average scenario? What's a scenario you would be okay with for sales? And then what's the worst case scenario? So then they have an ability through that business intelligence to make an informed decision about making a commitment on that inventory spend. And what was unique is, you asked the question around when is a good time. Our stats show that 87% of sellers that are doing more than 1 million in annual recurring sales have done a cash flow forecast. And overall, so we surveyed businesses in the 6 and 7 figure range. 73% of sellers have actually done at least one a year. And then those sellers, it's interesting, the correlation, those sellers that are doing over 1 million do them at least quarterly.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt that this might be helpful. So when I have to ask you something, which it has to do with e-commerce, but it has to do with other companies as well. From your perspective, to stay on the safe side, how much of your monthly spending should be sitting in your bank account? So, or what have you seen, because you have access to all these e-commerce companies?
Yeah. I'll say the best companies have a minimum of 3 months of operating expenses in an available spending account. So they have cash reserves on their balance sheet or an opportunity to dip into very liquid savings or cash flow that they can use in these down times. And what's been interesting is, because of the lower cost of some marketing efforts, some of these safety nets have been used to really help fuel future growth for these businesses, because they were in a position where others were retreating, where they were able to go on the offensive and say, wow, now that the available, the marketplace is a lot cheaper to advertise on, let's get out there a little bit more. And they're actually seeing, positive returns on those investments. And that's what's critical is, you have opportunities within your business to make spending decisions. Make the most insightful decisions on those spending opportunities where you're going to see a return.
Yeah. One more question regarding the capacity to forecast. Once you're doing this exercise, you can fall into the analysis paralysis trap. So you do this scenario A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and in the meantime is tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. How many scenarios do you think it's on the safe side to run, and how often you should revisit this?
Yeah, I say at least 3. I think a best case, moderate case, or most likely, and your worst case scenario are the best ways to run it. And how, I think it really depends on how often. It doesn't make sense if you're a business that has, as an Amazon FBA business, you're getting your sales reporting on a fortnightly basis. Your business has been trending pretty steady. It doesn't make sense for you to be in there every week spending hours on every detail. So for me, what I suggest in terms of a cadence of being financially responsible is every day you should have some ability on a dashboard that pulls in something like DataBox or Google Analytics, something that you can plug into that will show you your daily sales from your sales channels. So that's a peace of mind metric, right? Most people know, as long as I'm doing X units or X dollars in sales a day, I'm in good shape. So have an ability either through an automated email, something where you can quickly take a look at, you can breathe a little bit because you know things are on track. But also after a number of days, you can know, is something wrong with my Facebook, my ad retargeting? Is there something wrong with my marketing that's not drawing the sales that I should be seeing in my business? So daily, check on those key metrics that keep you up at night. I recommend each fortnight to be in a position to view your cash flow, because most people pay their team on a fortnightly basis. You have accounts payable, that you have bills that need to get paid. I recommend people pay them at least on 2 days of the month. So you're paying at mid-month and at end of month. So fortnightly, you're already in the process of making those decisions around what bill and what's available to spend. So work through that cash flow forecast. And then each month, look at your key internal financial management reports. So everyone should be looking at an income statement or a profit and loss, a balance sheet as well, and then their outstanding accounts receivable and accounts payable. And if you're managing those and looking at those on a monthly basis, then it just becomes routine. And we recommend setting a time and a day each month in your diary that says, I'm going to sit with my accountant and we're going to chat for an hour about this. Just that routine chat is going to build that peace of mind, that confidence. And also for many entrepreneurs, be brave enough and bold enough to ask your accountant. If you don't get something, if they're talking in terms like, oh, we want to look at the P&L, like, what's a P&L? Ask them. Like, we're here to help, and we get a lot of joy in coaching and sharing and educating, because naturally our business is one of service. So
and if they don't have that joy to explain, maybe there is the time to change the accountants, right?
That's right. Yeah. And you want someone that understands your industry as well. I mean, there's many accountants out there, but we recommend looking for accountants that have specialties within your industry. They understand the tools that other e-commerce operators are using in our space at various stages and sizes of business. To some, it makes sense to integrate, your accounting into Shopify's automated platform. For high volume sellers, it might not make sense because you're overburdening systems with information that they're really not built to support. So I think it's important when you are looking, if you're in a position to outsource, to ask the questions around their expertise and understanding of your industry. And you can often see it in, opportunities like this, where you see, an accountant on an e-commerce podcast in growth shows. So, start to look for other things. Don't just look at, oh, hey, I noticed there was a guy, down the road from me that put up a sign, he's doing taxes. That might not be the best fit for you. Dig in a little bit, ask some questions. And then when you're working with someone that's a right fit for your business, use them as a tool to become more financially literate. Yeah.
So Wayne, regarding where is the thin line between coaching them and giving them, I don't know,
radical candor?
Yeah, something like becoming a CFO that they can't afford. So where is that thin line, or until where you are drawing the line between explaining them the terms, sitting with them for that hour to coach them, but I presume you have to draw a line, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because we also, we're in a position where we're supporting, many customers. So it puts us in a position where we can develop an understanding based on our analysis of the numbers and share key insights. But at the end of the day, it's the entrepreneur that needs to make the decisions in the business. Now, if they come to us and ask, hey, from your, based on your knowledge, skills, experience, and expertise, or perhaps what you've seen across the other sellers, am I making a good decision? Ultimately, the decision is yours to make, but we can advise, hey, based on the trends that we're seeing in the numbers, seems like a safe bet to, increase your spend on, let's say, a paid ad agency, because you're seeing a sufficient enough return on that spend that it may be worth testing it a little bit further. So what we often do is we provide different programs and opportunities to work with folks. We have e-commerce master classes that we have available that people can learn from. We have kind of do-it-yourself, self-paced or group coached programs that many entrepreneurs are in positions where they may not have the cash flow to outsource their accounting. So, and we feel it's important for them to take on and tackle some of that effort on their own while they're small. It's critical that an entrepreneur understands where every dollar is coming in and going out of their business. So having that hands-on ability for a little bit of time until it pulls you away from doing those things in your business that only you have the skill set to do, does it make sense for you then to outsource?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question particularly. There's not like a clear line that says, oh, once you're at a million, you need a CFO, because businesses, most businesses utilize that vanity metric of revenue and say, yeah, I'm a 7-figure business, 8-figure business, but the entrepreneur might not be paying themselves a market rate salary because of low margins or excess spend on fulfillment. They may be mismanaging those other aspects of their business. So for us, we try to get in a position as accountants where we establish some principles and methodologies on how we are going to approach the communication of your numbers. And from that, hope that you have the ability then to make the most informed decisions about your business. Yeah.
Wayne, tell us a good story of a performing e-commerce that you work with. Inspire our audience. Let them know that it's possible.
Absolutely. A number of these stories over the last few months that have been exciting to be a part of, just to see the opportunity that has been created in such a kind of difficult time for most businesses. So we have some sellers that are working in e-commerce in the home fitness equipment space that have seen sales just continue to grow at unbelievable rates month over month. And as I mentioned earlier, the unique challenge now is how long can we expect this to continue? So what bets can we then make to try to support those sales, but not put the business in a position where we're buying more inventory than perhaps we may have an ability to sell when things settle down?
Yeah. In terms of the let's say the best things to track, you've said things like how many orders do you need per day, and to monitor them into a fortnightly cadence. But what kind of let's say KPIs or North Star metrics do you recommend to e-commerce owners to track?
Yeah, I think I was really motivated and inspired by a formula that was shared with me from a growth agency. And it looked at e-commerce growth in a simple equation. And it was visitors times conversion rate times average order value equaled your growth. And then it was further defined into average order value being a 60-day lifetime value. So some people say, wow, we're really sold on the term lifetime value, but as e-commerce operators, we can't wait the lifetime to have the net cash flow from that customer to make decisions. So what's been unique is we've now said, what's a good frame of time that we can turn repeat orders from these same customers to generate increased cash flow? So I love that formula in the view within 3 key metrics that you should be managing within your e-commerce. And that's the visitors to your site. You need more eyes on your product, but those eyes you then need to convert. So what's your conversion rate? And then also what's the average order value? Because if you can increase any of those factors, you're going to then have an increased multiple on sales. And then outside of that, a great framework that we use to help structure our discussions around spend in an e-commerce business is by looking at their income statement, their profit and loss across major areas of spend. So we look at cost of delivery. So the cost of delivery is your cost of goods sold, your fulfillment charges, your pick pack fees, your merchant processing fees, those variable costs that you incur to get a product to a customer's doorstep. Then we look at, as another metric, their customer acquisition cost. So these should be areas of spend that you're getting a return on investment. Are you using a paid ad agency to run your Facebook ads? Are you using email marketing software and consultants to help support maybe text-based outreach? Then we look at your OpEx, your operating expenses. So these are things like rent, your owner's salary. Many of your seller discretionary expenses tend to fall into this. Your participation in e-commerce masterminds or coaching groups. And then, of course, we've talked about your sales. We've talked about the three major areas of spend. Then we look at your profit number. It's critical that as a key metric, e-commerce operators understand their contribution margin. So we talked about sales. We talked about cost of delivery. Well, then what's left is that fuel you can use to grow your business on that marketing and your operating expenses. So we want to understand, does it make sense? Do we have enough margin in this product to put paid advertising behind to increase the sales? Because we don't want to grow ourselves out of business, right? If you're in a business where you lack the margin based on maybe inadequate pricing structure, inability to group or bundle the product with other products that allow for you to see, a profitability on your average orders. We want to understand those types of key metrics.
Yeah. Wayne, I'm with you on the fact that contribution margin should be closely monitored, and I have to add something that I've seen on our own skin. So at some point back in 2010, I think we were selling car insurance, and we had all sorts of customers which were buying the MTPL insurance for their cars, but we had the pricing was quite different, while the CPC was quite the same. So mainly our customer acquisition costs were different, but the customer lifetime value was varying a lot according to the customer grouping and the customer segments. So that was an aha moment for us when we realized that we need to weigh in for at the customer group level the customer lifetime value. And in our formula for defining the customer lifetime value, we've added the contribution margin and the payback period as well, so that we'll be able to understand how much can we afford to acquire and what type of customers, and to change our targeting. And from that moment onwards, we realized how important the trucks are for our business. That their MTPL was as expensive as for 30 normal customers, right? So 40 cars or a truck. So that was the moment when we realized that we need to focus on that, and it was a bit of a game changer for us.
And that's what's unique, is the ability now through that targeted advertising to have an ability through Facebook and other tools to utilize their AI to help identify the most appropriate audiences that are most responsive and generating the most opportunities for sale. It's really unlike, I think, many other industries in the unique way that e-commerce operators leverage this data and understand the data from a marketing perspective to help them drive the sales numbers and performance within their business.
Yeah. And Wayne, another thing which I think is a trap, that P&L alone is not giving you enough clarity about the future. P&L is showing you what happened already, while cash flow can give you, it can be indicative about the future, but it doesn't affect the behavior of the customers. While things like the customer satisfaction, the customer lifetime value, cohort analysis, and the customer acquisition cost and the balance between the lifetime value and customer acquisition cost would give you a much more better vision about the future. We've got a former guest of our show, I think 6 months ago. He's a former e-commerce entrepreneur. He grew his company until 11 million euro in annual turnover, and they actually got out of business by having a CFO which was actually trained, by monitoring constantly the customer, the CPC and the Facebook ads and everything, but not looking at the fact that their customer retention was pretty low. And they ran out of customers to acquire on the markets where they are because their products were not that good, no word of mouth, and eventually they've reached a plateau since that moment going down. And it was incredible to realize how important it is to monitor the customer lifetime value or customer retention.
That's a great point. And you see now, even more so than ever, the rise of user-generated content. Now it's very common to see someone in their living room, filming the unboxing experience, right? And the joy they get when they're removing the packaging and seeing the way your product's being presented to them in this big moment, that they're having, and the ability to utilize some of that user-generated content in some of the marketing efforts is now becoming more real because we're at home more. So it's not necessary for people to be in studios with the most amazing lighting to generate the best creative. Some of the best creative now is just simply someone holding a phone to their face like this and talking to you into the phone. So I think you hit it spot on. Really, that the measurement of that customer experience and their satisfaction is going to be a great metric to help you understand the opportunities you have for future sales. Because it's the opportunity now for social sharing is just so immense. Most people have hundreds of friends and followers, and just that simple moment in their life where they're turning their phone on themselves and sharing across your amazing product then is free advertising. That then is reached to their 500 closest friends that are in positions that are like, wow, man, if Wayne loved that, I love that stuff. I'm gonna try it out too. And you utilize those other customers to be that social proof.
And when what it's actually interesting is that no matter from which angle are you looking at the e-commerce game, you are coming from this highly financial accounting space. We had all sorts of guests, and at the end, it all goes down to the basics, like under promise and over deliver, get happy customers that could promote your products, your e-commerce to their friends, because that means lower customer acquisition costs and more profit for you. However, we are let's say many e-commerce managers are not prioritizing customer happiness into their agenda, and that's the trap. And I think that has a lot to do with the business growth itself, because once if you don't deliver value, is the universe itself, right? Is the natural law of attraction. What you give is what you get, and if you don't delight your customers, if you don't over deliver to them, how can you expect to grow your business steadily? How can you expect to have some miracle in your business? What's going to happen, right? So how is going to scale up? Okay, you have this huge demand at this moment, and a lot of e-commerce managers are happy because the demand is to the roof. But this is not going to be forever. And once you acquire a customer right now and he buys from you, but you forget to say thank you, you forget to deliver, to respect your delivery time, and you deliver in 6 days instead of 3, and you forget a lot about the hygiene stuff on establishing a relationship with a first-time customer, then you can't expect that customer to come back or to promote you. And at the end of the day, it's all a matter of emotional and habit forming.
Yeah, and also utilizing those unique opportunities. So, where do you see 100% open rate in your business? The unboxing experience, right? So my friend Taylor Holiday shared out that quote on Twitter earlier this week. So why not use that moment to share that gratitude, that bit of thanks with your customer, because they're going to open the product. So have a flyer, have something in there that says thank you, 10% off your next purchase, share with a friend, whatever the offer is that's unique and compelling to that particular customer. Have some, use that opportunity. You're going to see 100% open rate. So use that to message the right moment.
Yeah, that's amazing, and there are a lot of things that you can do. What we're doing in Reveal, we are analyzing the chances to place the next order, right? So after you place the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and so on. So once the customers are placing the fourth order, the chances are 3 times higher that they will buy again from you. But instead of focusing on this initial habit, like the 1 to 2 is the most important by far.
Yeah.
So after the first order, they are not actually buying your product. They are buying the idea that they will get the product plus, let's say, good enough services. But if you don't measure the emotional impact, because we are human beings, we are not driven by the informations and the reasoning, right? So it's all pure emotion, right? Even in business, it was that research that 85% of the decisions in the B2B world are being made unconsciously, which means emotions, right? No reasoning there. So these moments from one order to the second, from second to the third, and so on, that should be first monitored, right? So how many of our customers, after delivering this kind of experience, they've placed the second order? And then let's change that. That is the fine tuning. That is the optimization of the whole business, the customer journey, not the, things which are already on default, right? So as you are handling this aspect of the e-commerce, there are a lot of other outsourcing companies which can handle various aspects of the e-commerce, but the relation with the customer is something that you as an owner or an e-commerce manager, you must handle it. This is yours, right? That's your brand.
Yeah, and I think that's unique too. Everyone's going to open the shipping notification email. Everyone's going to be curious when they're going to receive the product. So why not share a bit of your brand and some information and personality within that notification? Often, when you get the standard, notification, there's nothing there. It's like, but if there's something that's like, hey, click here, learn more about, our next release of, the green Bean Ninjas t-shirt, and, or there's some story or ambassador that they have, within the brand that's compelling, and there's just unique opportunities, I think, that most people miss within their communication with customers, that are opportunities where you have the eyes already on your content. Now put better content in front of those eyes.
Yeah. One idea, Wayne, let's do some brainstorming together.
Sure.
Right? So we have all this data, like we have the habits of the e-commerce, of the customers of an e-commerce. On the other end, we have the cash flow, and you have all this data around what's going on in the, cash in hand, the future liabilities and everything. You have also the habit forming of the customers, and we also have another data from the Google Analytics trends and so on. What if we could aggregate all this data and generate, let's say, an algorithm that could justify and that could suggest to the e-commerce owner, instead of using his brain to actually do these calculations in Excel, what if we could aggregate all this data and make it available for them? Because these kind of tools that could give them the predictive budget that they should be using in acquiring more stock or in acquiring more customers is this, according to his own real data. So it's not like giving them disparate data, because during this conversation, I understood that while you have a part of the picture, I have another part of the picture. So we are looking at all this data, but we are not connected. And the e-commerce people, they work with you on some aspects, they work with us on some aspects, and they look at Google Analytics and their, I don't know, traffic campaigns, but they need to process all this data and put them on all together in order to make decisions.
And I'll say that that's the biggest shift that we're seeing now in the industry, because the growth of e-commerce, or not e-commerce, but cloud-based tools to do a lot of what traditionally was very manual processing by accountants is giving us more time. And with that time, we're seeing a shift from accounting service providers moving from being transaction processors, bean counters, and more into coaches and having an ability to share insights and advisory. And we're seeing it move from that, historian perspective where we're telling you the result in numbers of the decisions you've made in the past, more towards trying to be that fortune teller, if you will, where we're now saying, okay, based on the best insights that we have available from that history, we can draw some conclusions that lead us to believe that these will be the outcomes for you and your business if you make similar or slightly different decisions based on the modeling. But I'd agree, there's really not an amazing business intelligence predictive tool that provides an opportunity for you to leverage the metrics driven by the history and the customer experience metrics that can help you better predict the future. I think we're onto something.
Yeah, that anyways, in the future, it's clear that this kind of job shouldn't be made by the brains of the e-commerce owners or managers. This is a task for a machine to aggregate all this data and to build the predictive models, to do the real-time calculations, and to suggest the next moves. Because as you've said, the cash flow, the cash is king, right? This is the oxygen for any business. So how you are managing the cash flow, that's going to be. This is the most crucial thing, right? How you are investing your resources.
Yeah, we often share a statement that says revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is the reality. So we want to live in the reality. You want to live in your truth, and your truth is what cash you have available and on hand to spend.
That's excellent. So Wayne, we are rapidly moving towards the end of this this show. Tell me if there's any question that I wasn't being so inspired to ask you, because then I'm going to ask you the last question for today.
All right, a good question. So I would say, the best question that I would ask most sellers is, are you either willing or unwilling to know your numbers? Many people say, I don't have the time, I don't have the expertise, I don't have the tools to know my numbers. So I would ask the question of folks out there, like, why? What piece of it are you unwilling to tackle? There's resources available through blog posts now, Google, YouTube videos, opportunities to outsource to different providers. There's no reason why you should not be able or be in a position to know your numbers. Be brave enough to ask for help if that's the way it needs to be. But I think it's just so critical. And it's a way I am able to be of service to folks. And I just truly believe in that. So I guess I'll share that as kind of my last message.
Yeah. So Wayne, the last question for you is how do you achieve growth for yourself? So tell us your hack or your hacks to become a better person.
So myself personally, we didn't share, but I'm the father of 5 children. Wow. My wife and I, we were surprised by triplets 6 years ago. So we went from we had a daughter, son, and then triplets, 1 daughter and 2 more sons. So the demands of my time are often presented by others to be something that, oh, I could never do that. But I think, as I said before, you need to be willing and step up to the plate for what responsibilities you have available to you. So one way that I grow is I make sure that I take time for my own satisfaction, personal development. I wake up much earlier probably than many, but it allows for me to have that time on my own to get to the gym, to be in a position to work out and challenge myself physically and also mentally. But then I also take time to read through different self-development books, professional journals, and other things to get my skills sharp and stay competitive, but also aware of different aspects of business. As you can probably tell, I'm just fascinated by e-commerce. I want to learn what I can about marketing, and I want to learn what I can about, customer experience and mapping out customer journeys and where people can help, grow their businesses in that way. So for me to grow, it just means being, I guess I'll say it, selfish enough to take a bit of time for yourself to do those things that are those positive habits that will result in you taking the actions to become the person you want to be.
Yeah, that's excellent. So Wayne, thanks a lot for being part of E-commerce Growth Show. Where can people reach out to you if they need you or Bean Ninjas in their lives?
Absolutely. So we mentioned at the beginning our inaugural e-commerce recession impact study. So you can find that on our website we've got it at, let's see, it's on our blog. If you look at beanninjas.com, e-commerce recession impact report, you'll have it available. We are across all the social platforms at Bean Ninjas. If you want to reach me directly, you can go ahead and message me on LinkedIn. I'm available. I'm also just starting up on Twitter. I've had a Twitter account for, I guess, now 7 years, but I'd never been active. I'm finding it to be a very social place for e-commerce operators and a great community within direct-to-consumer. So you'll find me there as well. I guess we could share across to it. If you have questions in general or you want to understand, we have a free e-commerce toolkit that's available on our website. So you can also go to beanninjas.com and you'll see the lander for the free e-commerce toolkit. You'll provide or you'll receive within that toolkit some templates to building a cash flow forecast. You also see some opportunities around guides for building or getting right your zero file if you happen to be in zero. And then also, I just want to say thanks. I'm grateful for being in a position again to join you on your birthday. So I hope you have an amazing rest of the day.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. So Wayne, thanks a lot for that, and thank you for watching, for being with me and Wayne today. I wish you to have a life at least as fulfilled as mine, because I truly think that I'm the luckiest person on this planet. So thanks a lot, and see you on the next episode. Thanks a lot, Wayne.
Bye. Take care. Thank you so much.